Kera shoto do sandre kire do ro ke sede de ke frosho da sete se. Shonde sede do shore kira raseto shoto raseke do. Fuda resede de karado shuru barasete de. You see that there, folks? That is praying in tongues. I'm an atheist, and I can still fucking do it. I used to be a member of a non-denominational, slain in the spirit, name it, claim it, kind of church. And I was very well adept with the whole praying in tongues and using it as my prayer language and whatnot. I didn't quite fully understand why, because I didn't quite understand the Bible and why it would say that when you can just talk to God, but who was I to question? Obviously, people were experiencing something, so I went with it. And so, of course, I learned how to pray in tongues, and but after a while, I would see the pastor get up on stage, and he would be he's just jumping on and down. And then he just started saying, God, I'm talking to God right now, and he is telling me to tell you, if you have a back problem, I want you to get up on this stage right now. Come here running, because you're supposed to have faith if you want to get healed, my God. He says, if you run up here, I will heal you of your back problems. And people just running downstairs, they're booking it, man. They want to get down there. And they get up there and they're jumping like, yeah, and they're jumping up and down and they're praising God, and they're just like, yes, they're so excited because God obviously is moving and the Holy Spirit is coming down and they're going to get healed. So Pastor Perry, probably shouldn't have said his name, but oh well, he was a prick anyways, cheated on his wife, using our tithe monies to go see his slut of a little whore person that he was going to go see, but that's not the point. Well, actually, it does, but it doesn't matter. So he tells them this, and they are excited. They're pumped. As he runs up there, and he just starts dropping people left and right. Boom, 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 boom. There, people are falling, and they're laying out, and they're just crying, and they're twitching, and they're laughing. They're so excited. Some people are standing up just, and they're crying, and they're thinking that they're going to get healed. But they don't. They don't get healed. Their problems don't get solved. They're still in as much debt as they were before. Actually, they're probably in more debt now because they just gave them 10% of their tithes to their money to the church. So they're even in more debt. And then the next week, he calls out another prayer. And we repeat this cycle over and over again. But it doesn't make sense. Because we were taught to believe that if the Holy Spirit, if God is using the Holy Spirit to, one, speak through our pastor, and he is making an altar call, in the sense of calling people up to the front to get healing, that if people are running up there, then they're going to get healed. But no, what is the excuse? Oh, you didn't have enough faith. You weren't holy enough. You weren't righteous enough. God is saying that it's going to happen, but it'll happen soon. But I don't remember pastor ever saying that. And there was no little disclaimer saying it may not happen at this time, but it could happen some near date in the future. Those weren't in parentheses anywhere in that. Oh, they didn't have enough faith. Well, I don't know how much faith required to do exactly as a pastor said and run up on the front. And there are people that have been praying for healing for days to weeks to months to even years. How much faith is required? And then, as I said before, the pastor was caught cheating on his wife on a regular basis. But yet the Holy Spirit had no problem moving through him But those people that needed their prayers answered, they did not have enough faith or righteousness. But the pastor that is leading the flock, when he is using tithe money to go visit his little slut and cheating on his wife and lying, God can move through him. God answers his prayer, right? It didn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense. This was one of the very first few things that made me question Christianity, because there is no consistency with prayers. There is no consistency with the Holy Spirit and what it claims to do. And there is no consistency with God. I am an atheist, and I can pray in tongues, and I can go through the motions, just as I did back when I was a Christian. That being the case, that is a strong argument for what the fuck is actually happening to the Christians that actually do believe that praying in tongues means anything. It is something that is built up inside of your mind. You did not know how to pray in tongues at first, but you saw people praying in tongues before. You watched and you heard, and you were able to, with your mind, throw together syllables in a certain way. You were drawn by the music. You were drawn by the environment. You put those things together, and you were able to speak in a different language. A language, mind you, that everyone says something completely differently. This is a Holy Spirit language, but everybody says their own thing in their own dialect, in their own tongue, using their own phonetics based on their culture, their own beliefs, their own abilities to rapidly speak, or their own language. There is nothing special to the praying in tongues except for the effect that happens from it, that occurs in your mind. You forced yourself to pray in tongues, and you received a little bit of kind of an endorphin for that experience. You got a reward for it. What you experienced is natural, not supernatural. I can still pray in tongues, and I'm an atheist, and that's bullshit.